Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. I went to a small high school, and during my freshman year, there was this kid. Let's call him Drew. Drew was small in stature, white, blonde, and not very bright. He idolized controversial figures, and you can imagine the kind of trouble that led to. Our class had to present a project individually about what we wanted to be when we grew up. I went with engineering. Drew, however, made the worst possible choice. He filmed his presentation in his room, and the first thing we saw on the wall was a flag with a swastika. Drew was a white blonde kid with no reason whatsoever to have such a flag. That was already bad, but the next part was worse. He uttered the words, "I want to be a phone scammer," then proceeded to put on an Indian accent and pretended to scam someone on the phone. Everyone in the room was half laughing because it was ridiculous, and half wondering if he was serious. Well, we found out soon enough. Drew started going off on me because I sat with him, not by choice. He called me an NPC, which I assume was because he couldn't find a way to discriminate against me since I was also white. Anyway, he kept being racist, and at one point, my class agreed that we would sacrifice him if there was a school shooter. We eventually started talking smack about him to his face. The whole school stopped talking to him, except for a few who barely tolerated him. One day, Drew asked me if I could help him with homework. I saw my chance and gave him all the wrong answers, and he believed me. He left the school after the first semester, claiming it was due to bullying, which he had started. We had a huge celebration when he left. He's still the butt of many jokes to this day, and he's now a cautionary tale to the freshmen every year. Let me take you back to that fateful day of his presentation. Our teacher called Drew up to the front. He walked up confidently, and then the video started. As soon as the swastika flag appeared on the screen, the room went dead silent. We exchanged shocked glances, wondering if this was some kind of joke. Then he began speaking in that awful fake accent. "Drew, I want to be a phone scammer." He proceeds with a fake accent. "Hello ma'am, this is technical support." The room was a mix of stifled laughter and outright disbelief. When he finished, the teacher looked like she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Teacher, Drew, can I speak with you for a moment outside?" They left the room, and we all exploded into whispers. Could he really be that clueless? When Drew came back, he looked defiant. "Drew, they just don't get my sense of humor." I thought to myself, yeah, because it's not funny. Things went downhill from there. Drew's behavior got worse. He would make snide comments in class and openly mock anyone who didn't agree with his twisted views. One day he cornered me in the hallway. "Drew, you're such an NPC, you just go along with what everyone else says." Me. "Maybe I just don't agree with you because what you're saying is wrong." He scoffed and walked away. It wasn't just me he targeted. He went after anyone he thought he could intimidate. The only problem for him was that most of us weren't intimidated, just disgusted. Eventually, we all decided enough was enough. Classmate 1. If there's ever a school shooter, we know who we're throwing under the bus. Classmate 2. Seriously, he's the worst. It became a running joke, but it also made it clear how much everyone disliked him. One day, he came up to me again, this time with a different request. "Drew, can you help me with my math homework?" I saw my chance to get back at him. I spent an hour giving him all the wrong answers. He didn't suspect a thing. Me, "Sure, here you go, this should help you out." The next day, he looked confused and upset. "Drew, I failed the assignment, how could you give me the wrong answers?" Me, "Maybe you should have double-checked." He stormed off, and I felt a small sense of satisfaction. It wasn't long after that when he left the school. Officially, it was for bullying, but everyone knew the real reason. He couldn't handle the backlash from his own actions. On his last day, there was a strange sense of relief in the air. No one said goodbye to him. Instead, we had a small celebration in our own way. Drew became a cautionary tale, a reminder of what not to be. Now, every year when freshmen start, someone always tells the story of Drew. It's a way to warn them about the consequences of being an entitled offensive jerk. Drew might be gone, but his legacy lives on, serving as a lesson for future students. I'd like to start with the fact that I live in Russia and am not a good storyteller. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll try to clarify. This all begins about 3 years ago at my grandma's funeral. She passed away at the age of 73, leaving behind 3 sisters, one of whom committed suicide long ago, a plethora of grandkids, and quite a lot of real estate. When the paperwork regarding inheritance started, something began to smell fishy. My living aunt was extremely hesitant in giving us the death certificate so we could start filing for inheritance. Things started to get complicated and confusing, so I had to take over all the paperwork to help my mother out. I found out that the apartment my grandmother lived in no longer belonged to her, but was signed off to the kids of my aunt. Upon further inspection, I realized that most of my grandmother's belongings were signed off to my aunt long before my grandmother's death. First, I decided to speak to my mom. She told me that on the date the papers were signed, my grandmother was already in pretty bad shape. Dementia and Alzheimer's had already gotten the best of her, and she was not legally able to sign them. So I decided to go to my aunt, still not wanting to believe that she had wronged us. Sincerely believing that it was all an honest deal, I asked her how it all happened. I will never forget her response. I never thought someone could say this to a relative. Aunt, it's none of your business. I intend to get everything I can, and for the rest of the real estate that will be shared property, I will force you out. I was baffled. I couldn't understand how she could do something like this to my mother. I had to do something. The next day, I spoke with my mother. She was shocked and devastated, in tears. She also could not understand how her own sister could do such a thing, especially after all the things she did for her, like helping her make a career in sports and helping with money during hard times. I knew we needed to go to court. The problem was that my mother is a working pensioner and is still raising my 13-year-old brother, and I had just spent all my savings on renovating her apartment. Money was an issue. Luckily, I had made good friends with our company lawyer at work, and he offered to help me. We collected all the needed paperwork. He told me to document any further encounters with their family and to keep an eye out for anything fishy. After that, we sent a letter to my aunt saying that we would dispute everything in court. This is where my life became hell. It all started with threatening calls from her sons. That was no big deal. I recorded all of the phone conversations. They found out where I work and live and started stalking me. Again, no big deal. A while back, my boss made me an offer for a driver to pick me up to and from work because the driver lived nearby. About time I took him up on that offer, so I did. One morning, I woke up and got ready for work. My driver was downstairs waiting for me. I put on a coat and headed downstairs. I opened the door of my apartment complex and got hit in the face by my oldest cousin. He threatened me again and fled the scene. The driver ran up, helped me, and told me that it was all recorded on the car's front camera. He called my boss and took me to the hospital. The next day, I took the video and all of the phone conversations to the police. They accepted everything. When the police contacted my aunt, searching for her son that punched me, she was livid. She called me and spat threats over the phone. Aunt, you're going to regret this. Me. Your son is already in trouble for threatening me. She hung up. About a week later, I woke up in the middle of the night to loud banging on my door. As I walked to the door, it gave in and flew open. 2 large men walked in, stating this was now their apartment as well. Men, if you want to remain healthy, you should pack your things and go. I called the police. They came, checked the paperwork, and it was totally fine. It turned out my aunt hired professional, let's call them, professional inconveniencers. They make money by forcing people to move out of shared homes. She gave them a part of her right of ownership, and they were legally allowed to move in. For the next 3 months, I routinely had to pick my door because they kept changing the locks. I had to deal with constant loud music, dirt, and filth in my own house. I barely got any sleep. After 3 months, they gave up and left. Seeing that this didn't work, my cousin's family decided to desperately mess with me. One night, one of them walked into my apartment complex and started spraying pepper spray at my door to try and lure me out. Unfortunately for him, I was cleaning the house and doing some minor work after the goons they hired. All of my doors were pretty insulated with rags and towels to prevent concrete dust from flying everywhere. I barely smelled the pepper spray. Court was due the next day. I barely convinced my mother to ask for her sister to be eliminated from inheriting anything. After I showed the court video and audio of them threatening and assaulting me, it was done. The court ruled in our favor. Upon returning from court, I went to the police to tell them about the pepper spray incident. I was rushed into a room and questioned. It turned out my elderly neighbor died from lung complications caused by the pepper spray. Here I am today. I just returned from the notary, where my mother signed all the real estate to her name. I got a significant amount of money for assault and threats, and my awful aunt is left with her tiny apartment and a son in prison for assault, threats of violence, and homicide. Her second son was fired from the rescue team and is no longer able to work for any government or social structures, and he doesn't know how to do anything else. They're bankrupt, and it serves them right. All right, let me paint a picture for you. I own a $300 Traxxas/remote control car and a $200 HobbyZone AeroScout remote control plane. I always take these to my local park because they have a soccer field perfect for flying the plane and a dirt bike park where I can drive the car around. About a month ago, I took my remote control stuff over to the park and flew my plane around for a little while until the battery got low. As I was landing it, I saw a kid who looked about 8 to 9 years old. Let's call him Nice Kid because he tried to stop his mom and was genuinely kind to me, and his mother, let's call her Karen, approaching me from the playground area. I assumed they were just coming to compliment my plane because people often do. I got the plane on the ground just as Karen started talking to me. Karen, what kind of plane is that? How much did it cost? Where did you get it? She seemed like someone wanting to know so that they could get one. I answered all her questions, and she took Nice Kid back over to the playground. Since the battery was dead on my plane, I got my remote control car from the trunk of my car. I walked over to the dirt bike park with it, which is near the playground. I started driving it around and taking it off the jumps when I saw Karen glaring at me while her son was playing on the monkey bars. After a while, Karen marched over toward me and demanded I give her my car because, in her words, my precious angel wants it. I knew this wasn't true because Nice Kid hadn't even looked in my direction. I told her that if she wanted one for her son, I would be happy to airdrop her the link to the website where I got it. But apparently she wanted mine, which I had specially customized for my birthday. It cost me $300 to buy it and get it customized, and I won't just give it to you because your little darling wants it. At this point, Nice Kid saw his mom talking to me and came over. Nice Kid, Mom, what's going on? Karen. Oh, hi, sweet pea. I didn't see you come over. I was just trying to get this nice boy to give you one of his remote control cars. Okay lady, for one, this is my only car. Karen. I wasn't asking how many you had. Nice Kid. I don't want his car though. That's his. You can just take me to the store to get one of my own, Mommy. Karen. Of course I can take you to get one, but this one is so much nicer, and this nice man said he would give you his, isn't that right? That is not what I said at all. Please take your son back over to the playground and leave me alone. This seemed to infuriate Karen, and she snatched at my car, grabbing the front bumper. Karen. You said we could have this. Now let my son play with it or I will call the cops on you for stealing my son's car. At that moment, I knew I had my first encounter with an entitled parent. I had to get my car out of her grip, so I pulled the throttle back to full, and she dropped the car onto the ground, snapping the bumper off in the process. She screamed at me for being a spoiled, ungrateful brat, breaking her son's new car, and almost breaking her leg. I picked up my car and started to walk away. As I turned away from her, she grabbed my shoulder and yanked me back toward her. Ow, what are you doing, lady? Have you lost your mind? Karen. Where in the world do you think you're going, you little brat? I'm taking myself and my car back home and away from you. Karen. No you're not. You're trying to steal my son's car. I'm calling the police. At this point, I was actually relieved that she was calling the police. Little did Karen know, but I have a clear windshield on my car and always keep a GoPro recording from the inside of the car through the windshield whenever I'm using it in public. Once the police arrived, Karen told them that I was trying to steal her son's remote control car. They asked her questions about the car, like, where did you get it? How much did it cost? What model is it? Of course, she could answer none of these, and neither could Nice Kid. The cops shook their heads in disbelief at Karen's stupidity and came to me asking what had happened. Me. She tried to take my car for her kid. I have footage of the entire incident. I showed the officers my footage. They watched the whole thing and just started to laugh at how dumb and entitled she was acting. They asked me if I wanted to press charges, and it took me a few moments to decide. But yes, of course, I did. She tried to steal my property, then broke the bumper, which costs about $30 minus $40 to replace. Luckily, my warranty was still valid, and then manhandled me trying to get me to give my car over. The officers detained Karen, and Nice Kid's dad came to pick him up and apologized for his ex-wife's behavior. Nice Kid's dad, I'm really sorry about this. She's done insane, entitled stunts like this before, and that's why I divorced her. Later in court, she got sentenced to 2 months in jail for destruction of property and attempted theft. She also got fined $200, which is about the cost of the non-customized car. It's rather ironic considering she could have just bought her own for the same amount. We also ended up suing Karen for $1,000 for breaking my car and manhandling me. The suit ended up going through for $800, and I am rather happy with how it turned out. I used the money to buy 2 new cars and a new plane. I also became good friends with Nice Kid and gave him one of the new cars, plus an extra $50 to get some customizations for his birthday. It was my friend's birthday, and a group of us had planned to take him out to his favorite restaurant. There were 8 of us in total. When we got there, we were seated near a smaller table full of guys who fit the stereotype of dude bros. Within 5 minutes, we realized they were going to be a problem. They were loud and rude, giving their server a hard time. Soon, our server came, and it was the same girl who was serving the rude table. She apologized for the wait and made a comment about how she had a lot on her plate. Server, I'm really sorry for the wait. I have a lot on my plate tonight. It's fine, we understand. She took our drink orders and gave us some more time to pick our food. A few more minutes went by, and then we heard yelling. From what we gathered, one of the dudes wanted an alcoholic drink but didn't bring his ID. The server was doing her best to remain calm and keep control over the situation. Server, I'm sorry, but I can't accept a screenshot. Dude 1, come on, just look at it. It's my ID. Server, I'm really sorry, but I need a physical ID. Finally, one of his friends stepped up. Dude 2, I'll buy the drink for him. Server, I'm sorry, but that's illegal. I could get in big trouble for that. Dude 2, this is ridiculous. The whole table erupted in an uproar. Finally, the server said she'd get her manager and quickly left in tears. Our birthday boy was furious and said he was going to say something. Luckily, his girlfriend stopped him. That's when another friend, let's call him Jack, smirked and said he had a better idea. Jack, I have to fart. Me, so do I. Jack, are we going to crop dust this table? Me, I think we are. The rude table was located in a way that you'd have to walk by them to get to the bathroom, and you could walk either to the left or right of the table. Jack stood up first and made his way to the bathroom. When he disappeared around the corner, that's when the effects hit. At first, the dudes thought it was hilarious, pointing out one particular guy and placing the blame on him. He didn't think it was so funny and was steadily getting mad. That's when I stepped up. I made my way to the bathroom, passing on the opposite side of the table that Jack did. When I cleared the corner, Jack was standing there with a grin. We stood there and listened to the true chaos begin. The rude table didn't find the second crop dusting as funny as the first one. They were now yelling and pointing fingers at one another. Jack, this is perfect. Me, they deserve it. The icing on the cake was when the manager finally came over. Manager, you guys are being too loud. You're going to have to leave if you don't calm down. Dude 1, this server is terrible. She won't even serve us drinks. The manager was quiet for a good minute before he started talking again. Manager, let me explain the law to you. You can't be served alcohol at all because of the comment about buying it for someone else. We can't confirm that the person who is going to drink it is of legal drinking age. They were super angry but still stayed. They got a new server, who was a very buff man with a face that said, "Mess around and find out." They spent the rest of their time there with their heads down in shame. Buff server, what can I get for you guys? Dude too, just water I guess. Buff server, good choice. Our party had a great time after that. The atmosphere was much better without the constant noise from the rude table. We enjoyed our food, celebrated our friend's birthday, and even left a generous tip for the server who had to deal with those guys. As we were leaving, Jack and I couldn't help but laugh about the whole situation. Jack, I can't believe that worked so well. Me. Sometimes a little creative thinking goes a long way. We walked out of the restaurant, feeling victorious. Our friend had a great birthday, and the rude dudes got what they deserved. It was a night to remember. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences and opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.